Hi, Laurie. Welcome
Hi,
to
Marion.
the Armchair Talks. And this is Laurie Holmes, and Laurie is an author and transformative coach. She's a women's group facilitator. She was and is still a massage therapist, a grandmother, and a curious explorer of life's endless highways of opportunities, creativities, and adventures just waiting to be uncovered and discovered. Laurie lives in Hardeeville with her bossy cat Chloe, which Chloe will probably turn up today, and see today, with fresh eyes and a contagious zest for life. So welcome, Laurie. So,
Thank you, Marion.
Laurie, I just thought it'd be wonderful if we could have a deep conversation about visibility, because visibility, every time I think of visibility, I think unless we're visible and we step up and we show our authentic selves, we tend to not have the best of relationships or best of work. It gets affected by that. So what do you think about visibility yourself?
Well, I absolutely see how when we are afraid to really let ourselves show ourselves, there's that hesitancy, kind of like a drawing back, an insecurity and unsureness of ourselves. And, the relationships kind of suffer when you don't have that ability to really just be present for another human being. And I've seen that across the board, just recently in my life, where if I wasn't really paying attention to, like, I'm a massage therapist, and I'll give you an example. I was going through a bit of a rough patch with my own energy, and this feeling of wanting to quit and not wanting to work so hard as a massage therapist. And by doing that, I kind of dropped out my attention to the people I was working on, which had cataclysmic results, like people getting pissed off with me, and the end of a job that I've been working at for a year, that I kind of created that happening because of the way that I wasn't being present with my client. I was doing my thing, but not really listening and paying attention to what it was that they wanted and needed. So that's what happens when we stop being present for another human being, is that we aren't aware of what it is that we're doing that might have, an effect on them that's going to make them say, well, I never want to have a massage from her again. That was the worst massage I've ever had, yada, yada, yada. So in retrospect, it actually turned out well, because I ended up not having to work so hard at this job that I no longer wanted to work so hard at.
Yeah.
But it had a cost, because I wasn't being there for that individual, and they felt it and said something about it, which resulted in me not having that job as things went on and things happened. But it's interesting because, I see that there's places in life where, we're very present, we're very real, we're very authentic. And then there's other places in life where we may not be as such, places where it's more challenging for us to really show up. And I'll use family members as an example. Like, we're in a beautiful group together of women, and we're showing up for each other, and we're doing visibility challenges, and we're really starting to step up and see each other. But sometimes the very people that we're the closest to are the ones that we are not close to. And I look at who I haven't invited into the group, let's say, and one of them is my sister.
Yeah.
And my sister and I have a very interesting relationship. And I really didn't get a chance to really see my sister until I spent 6 days with her about a year ago during when she was having a hip replacement. And I think this is a really great example of how visibility, even with loved ones, we are invisible. We don't see them for who they are.
Yeah.
And when I was there, Janet is about 5'10", give or take. She might have shrunk a little bit, and easily 100 pounds more than me. And I would say both of us, are on the fluffy side of life. And so she can be quite intimidating just by how she looks without her opening her mouth. And Janet is brilliant. She's someone that intimidates me just by her intelligence alone. I can be intimidated by just what she knows. And so there are certain subjects that I wouldn't even have with her because I would come off looking like a total idiot. And while I was with her, within the first 24 hours of being with my sister again, and we haven't lived together and spent that much time together, but on this particular occasion, I was planning to be with her for 6 days, and a hurricane came along, and it ended up being 13 days. And in the first 6 days, my sister yelled at me a lot. And what was really interesting was that when and I'll give you an example of one of them, because I think in retrospect, it was quite funny. But I was in her kitchen and I was looking for like a toaster to make toast. And as I'm looking around in her kitchen, which was not really super clean, I only saw a really old, icky toaster oven. And so my mind said, I don't really want to put toast in that. And so I just offhand out of my mouth came, "How do you make toast?" Which to me made perfect sense given how I was thinking in the moment. Well, my sister went ballistic when I said that, because to her, the toaster was in pure, plain sight, very easy to see. And she thought I must be a moron. So she just let me have it. And in the first minutes of her yelling, I wasn't visible. I had shrunk into this whole little girl place of being yelled at, done something wrong, blah, 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 blah. And that feeling is intense because it reminded me of my mom and my dad when they get arguments and stuff, which I hated. I would become very invisible when people were angry.
Same with me.
Yeah. Not an easy place to be visible inside, right? So there I was feeling this feeling. And then all of a sudden, I had an insight. And what I realized in that moment was, oh, she's not yelling at me. She's responding to her thinking about me.
Yeah.
And the feeling I was having had nothing to do with her. The feeling I was having came from a memory.
Yeah.
And the minute I saw that, it was like my whole being lightened up.
Yeah.
And it gave space for me to become present again, to become visible again inside that relationship. And so what I did after that was I really started to listen to my sister, something that neither one of us had been very good at. And an interesting thing happened when I took my attention off of myself and really put my attention on her. 6 days in, still yelling, still, da, da, da. And then all of a sudden it was like we were relating with each other.
Connecting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We become present for each other.
Yeah.
And I was able to listen to her and really be there for her. And an example of that was driving her car, because she couldn't drive her car. And I'm not familiar with where she lives in Montana. And so it was real easy in that beginning stage of things for her to get a little bit crispy with me. But as we connected deeper and became more present with each other, there was more laughter. There was more engagement in a different sort of way. And one of the most poignant pieces of that was when my sister said something out loud. Why doesn't anyone do what I ask them to do? And why is everyone so afraid of me?
Oh.
And I realized that this outside expression of her was really hiding something from inside that she was not being visible with.
Yeah.
She was holding on to that and not really letting people see that more vulnerable side of her. And I think visibility is really about letting yourself be okay when you are not always feeling okay. You know, being present to all of it, really.
I love how you sort of connect visibility to presence, because really it's another word. And, you know, visibility and presence and authenticity really go hand in hand. And vulnerability, really. It's for anybody who can't see this and listening to the audio version, we're now being joined by Chloe the cat, who loves the attention. So she's now sitting in the video, a very prominent place. So Laurie, presence and visibility and authenticity, as I said, so close together, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
And even if we're not going around sort of saying, here is me, you know, which is what lots of people think visibility is, don't they? But, you know, here I am. Well, it's not about that. Being visible is just being present, you know, present in the moment, showing who you are, and so that you're able to connect with people on a real level.
That's true. And another interesting example for me is, so I'm, as I told you before, I'm a massage therapist. And I've had this male client for a while who, every time he comes, he had his own sheet of paper highlighting all the areas that were painful in his body. And nobody else did this.
Well, it is unusual.
Yeah, it is unusual. And so at first, in kind of getting to know this man, if anyone were to ask me, is that somebody that you would ever consider going out with? It would have been a resounding no. You know, because I just didn't feel that there was any connection there. You know, he was Mr. I've got this pain here and this pain here and da 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 da. Well, then I did my book. I think you know that I wrote a book, a spiritual book called Becoming Human, the story of you and me and how we came to be. And somehow
that's on Amazon, isn't it, Laurie?
Yes, yeah. And somehow that came up in conversation. And I told him I was doing my first book signing. And he said, oh, I'd love to go. Now, what's interesting about this is he did show up. One of two people that I actually massaged from the same location, and he showed up. And so the other person is in this group. So if you kind of have any idea of who I'm talking about, please keep it to yourself. But anyway, so what was interesting about that is he sat and listened to me share an excerpt from my book. And that led to him mentioning that he said, I didn't think that you were that deep a person.
Ooh.
And I said, wow. So all of a sudden it was like, now we have come to a different level of our communication. Yeah. Like, this is somebody that would actually read my book and enjoy it. Okay, he's got to have some spiritual background, blah, blah, blah. And that led to him saying that he wanted to do a tarot card reading with me because he felt like I might be interested in that. So I invited him to my place, even knowing he was highly allergic to cats. And so I cleaned like crazy. And I asked myself, as I'm cleaning like crazy, preparing this soup and all these things, and I'm saying, and so this is someone that you're not even interested in? You're doing all this work?
Yeah.
And so somehow the dynamics were starting to change as I was starting to see beneath the surface of a person that I would never have considered even having a friendship with, let alone invite into my home and share my soup and a tarot card reading with. And then went on to having now had several, I would say, dates without it being a romantic thing.
But that's
like
lovely, though.
Like a true companion, right?
So your wisdom certainly arose at the time of you know, beginning to clean up your place and notice. You started noticing things, Laurie.
Yeah. And really seeing that sometimes we make a judgment based on, whatever's presented to us. We decide we think we know someone.
Yeah.
And we don't really know that person, you know? And until he became really visible to me, like I could see the whole picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
We sat in the car and he told me this story about a cat that in a relationship that he'd had, previous relationship, how he'd really become attached to this cat. And after having told me that he was allergic to cats, that was not something that I saw coming, that he actually had a deep affection for this cat that he'd had to take care of when this woman that he was in a relationship with had a bipolar episode and was in the hospital for over 6 days.
Yeah.
And had left, and they had broken up previous to her being in the hospital. And she called him because he was the only person she could think of that could go by and take care of their cat.
Oh.
Because the cat had been left behind for 6 days. And when he got to the apartment, this cat, who we really bonded with, found almost at death's door because it had no food or water for 6 days. And so he rescued the cat. He found someone who could help him nurse this cat back to life, even though the cat had been damaged by not having enough water for 6 days to truly survive. It affected its kidneys, so only lived for another, I think, 3 years beyond this incident. But he'd moved back into the apartment that she kicked him out of, moved back into the relationship, in a sense, to help nurse this cat back to life. And I saw a completely different side to this man. If I had not taken that opportunity to become his friend, I never would have had this opportunity to see underneath the mask that we all wear.
Yeah.
To the human being, to the essence, to the soul. And just was like, if you could say, fell in love with somebody, not in a relationship way, but just in a human way. I just saw him. And it was so beautiful.
Isn't it true, though, that lots of people say that they haven't met the one, they really want somebody in their life. And actually a lot of the problems around that is that people are frightened of showing their vulnerability, and they're frightened of showing and being visible and showing who they are, because they've got, you know, stuff going on inside, and the barriers show. But as soon as you go out and you really show who you are, and I always say it's like the light shines out of you, you know, the people are attracted to people who are really showing who they are. They're showing up. And I've noticed that for myself, and I've noticed, you know, with many other people too. So in the Laurie and I, Laurie runs a wonderful group on Facebook called the Wisdom Keepers, and which we sort of mentioned before. And within this group, there have been visibility challenges, and you know, it's helping people to be able to come out of their comfort zone and be feel that whether they are in their own eyes good enough or not. We don't do good enough, do we, Laurie? You know,
No.
we are just who we are. And it's about stepping up and just showing your amazingness, you know, because we all are.
It's so true. I think one of the things that drew me to the idea of working solely with women specifically is because I wanted to see women shine. I wanted to see women really see the beauty inside them, and to know that they were worthy and enough, and that they could share their gifts with other women and feel safe and feel nurtured and have a space that was just for them, especially when we're givers.
Yeah.
We give to so many people in our lives, our children, our grandchildren, our friends, our lovers or husbands, or whatever we have in our life. It's so important to do, and this has come up, the universe has given me this one like so many times recently. Self-care.
Yeah.
Receiving.
Yeah.
Giving to ourselves. Letting it be okay to nurture ourselves. We are nurturers of so many others in our lives. And, you know, to be able to nurture the nurturer.
Well, one thing that I discovered was that if you're going to step up and be visible, you also need to know how to receive. Because when you're visible, you know, people get drawn to you, and there may be things that you would love to go and do, but actually you need not to be afraid to go out there and ask for what you want, or the help that you want, or even just receive that love, that the ability to receive money and you know, jobs and work and all these sorts of things. So I think we're also not particularly good at receiving, the ones of us that are also the givers. And it's a really important lesson to learn. You're going to be visible, you're going to have to learn to receive.
Absolutely. Especially if you're also into the asking too, because that's another aspect of receiving, is asking. And if you are like the visibility challenges within the challenge where we promote ourselves, actually asking someone to receive what we have to offer, and then receive somebody else's offer. So it's kind of like just keeps keeps going in circles, how it all goes together. And I just love the idea of a circle, as opposed to, you know, somebody being a leader and being in front of everyone else. I love the idea of we're all in it together. We're all side by side, sharing with each other who we are. I mean, what else? What is the biggest gift that you can give to another human being? The gift of self.
Absolutely. I would love to know I know that you are a 3 principles understander, as I call them. And I'd love to know, if we are talking about visibility, what is it that we are, when we become visible, from that understanding, what are we showing? Who are we?
Well, I asked that question recently in a group, and the way that I see it is, first of all, I truly believe that we are spiritual beings having a human experience.
Mm.
And when we show up authentically and with presence in mind, there's a similarity of energy that is present when we all show up for each other.
Mm.
And I'd like to call that pure consciousness.
Yeah.
And in that place, in that space of pure consciousness, I would also like to insert the word love.
Mm.
Because I think love is present when people show up for each other.
Mm.
And when you can be in the expression, the full expression of love and compassion and joy and understanding, that is felt by anyone that you're in the presence of it. As I was talking to you and my beingness started to come through, I noticed that Chloe quieted down. It's like even the animals can feel the vibrational change in you when you're not all up in your head and crazy thinking and flitting all over the place and being busy. And so when we come to the present moment and we slow down, and that pureness of being just starts to emanate from us.
Yeah.
It's a very calming place.
Well, we feel calm. People feel calm around us. And as you said, the animals feel calm. And I really notice that with my cats, by the way, that when I'm in that flow, as I say, or I'm talking in that flow, everything goes quiet in my household with the cats. So it's lovely. And that is who we really are.
Yes.
Yeah. What a
and that, go ahead.
I was going to say, that's just such a beautiful answer. I love it.
Well, I think one of the things that I enjoy with the group, because not everyone has this understanding, is that when someone speaks their truth, you just feel it.
Yeah.
It can be expressed in so many different ways, but it's universal.
Yes. Yes, it is.
When you come into a universal place where everyone meets together in that same energetic space, I believe that's a space where magic happens.
I agree. And I think, that's a beautiful place that we're going to have to finish, but leaving you with the knowledge that the group allows an enormous amount of authenticity within it. And therefore there's a huge amount of wisdom within that group as well. And for sure that the energy that comes out of that is just mind-blowingly creative and really, really beautiful. So thank you, Laurie, for creating such a beautiful space that I can be in and have allowed my creativity to flow. And I'm sure that you will inspire other people to do that. So
I'm ball.
You sure are. And anybody that can is watching this video rather than listening to the actual podcast. Chloe is also enjoying it, the cat, because she is upside down getting her tummy tickled. So thank you, Laurie, for sharing your wisdom and your time with me. I feel truly blessed.
This has been an absolute pleasure.
Good.
I look forward to listening to it afterwards and sharing it with those in the group, because you are amazing.
Oh, thank you, Laurie. I really appreciate it. There's a bit of a love fest going on now. So,
Absolutely.
okay.
A trio.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Laurie. And I'm sure that we'll catch up soon.
Perfect. Thank you so much for asking me.
My pleasure.